We're in for a wild night.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 162 of Born to be Wild, a wild and wild adjacent exclusive Hearthstone podcast where we have fun hanging out with friends, talking about the wild format of Hearthstone and wild adjacent formats of Hearthstone, and spotlighting members of the wild community. I'm joined by my favorite person tonight, SchmoopieDaddy. SchmoopieDaddy, how are you this evening, my friend?
As the sole representative of Orange County, New York, and I guess anywhere in the U.S., doing great. Feels like summer. How are you doing, Sheep?
Summertime, and the sheepy's easy. I don't know. I got nothing.
Sounds good. It was a little strange with just you and me playing off each other tonight. So that's fun. But yeah, how are you doing?
I'm good. Anyone who doesn't know, Schmoopie and I, we have a bitter rivalry, and that is why this is stilted and awkward. We absolutely detest one another personally, but on the podcast we make it work.
If we're ever in the same room, it's a fight to the death. That's just guaranteed.
Rules is rules.
Rules is rules.
So, for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome aboard. Let me briefly explain how this show works. We record this podcast live every Friday evening at twitch.tv/borntobewildhs, and the video version of this podcast is then posted to YouTube shortly thereafter. Audio versions are also distributed to all of the podcast apps. So however you are watching, listening, or absorbing via osmosis this podcast today, thank you. Yes, you.
Before we get into the main topic of the show, I'd like to say a quick thank you to Shakunin and our other patrons of our show. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and comment on this video on YouTube. Another simple way to support the show is to leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or your podcast platform of choice. If you're watching live on Twitch, we've got some awesome emotes that you can unlock by subscribing to the channel. This is free if you use Amazon Prime. There are also emotes you can unlock completely free just for following. We also have Born to be Wild merch. All right. My lovely wife modeling this shirt ? At the moment. There's new stuff. We got new stuff. My wife requested tank tees, and so now we've got some tank tees. We've also got some really dank new designs. I think we have ? To show live on the show, but it's Death Knight Sheep, Death Knight Hydra, and Death Knight Nate Wolf in the colors of their preferred Death Knight, which is like really, really, really cool. There's another graphic of all of them together. Throwing Sheep under the bus here. Sorry, Sheep. So we've included a link to the shop from our main website. Finally, if you'd like to support the show financially, you can join our Patreon for as little as $1 per month. And if you'd like to interact with us personally, please join our Discord, a free and amazing online community of friends all across the world who love to talk about Wild Hearthstone. Links to all of this stuff and more can be found on our website, which is www.borntobewildhs.com.
The HS stands for high school.
Yes, exactly.
No lies.
Yeah,
I bought the sheep one and the Hydra Nate or Wolf and sheep one myself, and I can't wait for them to get in.
They look really cool, don't they? They look really cool. I may have to dip back into being like, my typical market share of the amount of merch that we typically grab. I was actually, our favorite section of the Discord tends to be Nate always reads off the funny usernames. So I guess we should. Where did we leave off last time? Was it Sold Mum for Pack?
Yes, I think that was the last one.
Okay, so this week's show is dedicated to Wild Shaman, Priest King, always on Priest.
Can confirm.
And Doctor Almost.
Almost.
And is this last one appropriate to read? Because I don't get it.
Yeah. No,
Or
but
no.
do it.
Okay. 1 of 4, Nick 8 right now. There we go. Now I get it. Now I get it. Okay. Anyway,
It's a verbal joke expressed in a textual medium.
It's a verbal joke. All right. Sheep, how was your week? Now that we've had a little bit of a train wreck of a start.
My week was good. I played some Wild. I played some Buff Death Knight, which was really fun. I think I played that last week too. I continued that. If I didn't play it last week, then my weeks are just running together. And I definitely played it this week. That's for sure. Buff DK, super fun. Played a little bit of Classic just to kind of like send it off, but like not a whole lot, if I'm honest. I'm not into bot territory yet because my star multiplier is still with me, but like, I mean, the mode's fine. I enjoy it. I'm glad for what we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, which is going to be a blast. I did the Tavern Brawl. The Tavern Brawl is really cool.
Really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a dungeon run, but you get to choose one of the different genres of music. So I chose the shaman one, which is jazz, and did one and done the whole thing. So you get one standard pack at the out, like for winning the first game. And then if you beat all of them, then you get a Festival of Legends pack as well. And it's just a really fun, like it feels like this was supposed to be the like solo content, but instead they made it a tavern brawl. I'm glad that we got to play it at the very least. I mean, I wish it was like staying in the game for the long term, but I'm glad that we still got to interact with it. How about you, Schmoopie? How was your week, my dude?
Dude, my week was like really slow for HS. I think I mentioned it last week. I was done in THL. Like I knocked out basically my last 2 matches. We're on a bye this week. So I didn't have anything really competitive to do. I kind of set up a jank deck roulette that eventually sort of spiraled and broke down. But yeah, I basically deleted not every possible. I think I left Questline DH because Questline DH is fun. But I deleted most of my meta decks. There is no even shaman in my queue right now. And I just sort of went through and was just kind of like, all right, let me see what kind of spice is around and kind of started playing through it. And I will say I was having a lot of fun with it, but holy cow, there's some cool stuff that's viable right now. Like I especially found the Warsong OTK, which I hadn't given a serious shot since the Revert. I found that to be a lot of fun. Sinferno, Shudder greater than even. Sinferno, I'm sorry, man. That's cursed. That's just so cursed. I'm a drooler. I have to go with even. But yeah, no, like I was sort of doing that, and then at some point I was like, slowly my rank in MMR was spiraling down. Not my typical like, oh, let me play jank and then sort of be in around like 600s legend territory. Like it's worked out in some metas. It's been more like, well, no. You're gaining water actually, and now you're at D5 MMR. I started achievement hunting, I think, today or yesterday. There's a couple of really grindy ones that I really need my attention, and I am so stressed out about the win with the new ETC one. I know Goliath got it. I'm super stoked that he got it, but I am super anxious that I haven't gotten it yet. And I feel like the next expansion is like just over the horizon. Like we're gonna, it's either gonna be right at the end of, July or right in the beginning of August, and I'm trying to also hit level 400, and I feel like I'm gonna get Sunken Citied, and it's gonna be kind of like cut short by a week or two, and I don't know. So I'm gonna spiral down to an even lower MMR and go from there. But
have you considered the new ETC and the Warlock Legendary that I mentioned the other week?
Yeah, 100%. I've done that. Did that to MTG Squirrel. All right, so I did that to Squirrel, and then he killed me because his cards all cost health instead of stuff, and then I just died.
Well, you see,
Or he was able to.
you're supposed to
He
not
was able to-
die. That is a very key element of the equation.
I think what it came down to was like basically, okay, so I've played the Ulthok. Your move, Squirrel. And he basically was able to play his Blood Reaver Gul'dan, which brought back a Mal'Ganis, and so he was just like, I did discover that ETC is very fun with the Demon Seed. Like, I'm pretty sure he should just straight up just go in. Because at worst, let's say you play him on 5 and you're at like 0 out of 10 on a particular quest reward. Like, you can just like, I know you're probably floating mana, which isn't a ton of fun, but if you could set it up like,
I love floating mana.
If you send it to your opponent, when it comes back to you, it's at 10. And so if you just suck it up and lose the duel, now you're talking like, okay, I get a whole stage completion all in one shot. Sick. That's not too bad. It might leave your questline reward in your hand, so like it's not like the smartest move. But the really cool thing is post questline reward, you just keep like sending it back, and he comes to you, and sending it back comes to you, and there's no anxiety because you don't care if you lose. It's like it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's just like, all right, well, either you die or I accept the damage and you die. So like at some point, it's just there's like a sick sort of inevitability there that was kind of fun to play around with. That I don't know if my opponent at the time was really considering because they kept like juicing it up, but like what choice did they have? So
it's like, oh, heads I win, tails you lose.
Yeah, exactly. It was very much like a Two-Face moment where it's just like, okay, GG's. And so I won one of those by eating it in the face. And I don't think they got the achievement because I didn't die. And I certainly didn't get the achievement because I didn't die, they died. So like, unlucky. I'll probably just spam it in Warlock decks until eventually I get there. Personal note of the week. This was a super slow week because today was my last day for the school year. Today was basically a half day. So I'm done. I'm on summer break now. So now it officially feels like summer.
Hi, Dun. I'm Sheep.
Okay, and with that, this week's news. We got the clip?
Yeah, we got the clip.
Welcome to the news. The news is so good.
So, of course, the big news this week is that we are going to have a wild adjacent mode called Twist. Starting in patch 26.6, coming later this month. It is currently the 23rd of June, so like later this month is like less than a week. Hearthstone will be replacing the classic mode with a new mode called Twist. Twist is a Hearthstone ladder mode with regularly rotating seasons, each with a twist on the rules. Twist formats can include curated card pools and special rule sets. Sounds kind of like the Listener series, eh?
With some key differences, yes.
Depends on what the rule sets end up being, right?
Yeah.
Like
we might steal some.
We've seen, we might actually. That's a really good idea.
Steal some. We went on.
I like the way you think, Mr. Daddy. Well, I mean, so we know what the very first one is going to be for the beta, but we'll get there. So these formats sure do bring back some of your favorites, but in a new setting with a new meta to crack. Kind of, I guess. We already have some fun and nostalgic Twist formats planned for the rest of the year, but we also want to hear from you about Twist formats you'd like to see, or if you end up loving one so much you want us to see us bring it back, period. That was not a comma. Twist formats are planned to change regularly, but not necessarily with every season. Twist also might be deactivated from time to time, as we prepare for the upcoming season. You can find Twist in the Hearthstone menu where Classic used to be. And you always check the current Twist season's rules and eligible card pools from the deck selection screen. It says it kind of at the top. The one for New Age is one that I just pulled on screen for our video folks. It says ends in and the number of days and hours that it ends in, and twist mode. Blah, blah, blah. This one says experience this new twisted format. Build a deck using only class cards since Ashes of Outland. And it has a button to press that says view rules.
So, you know, what's funny? This tells me that Classic isn't actually gone forever, like I thought it was. So if they're going to be disabling it sometimes for, let's say, like, might also be deactivated from time to time as we use it for the next upcoming season, I wonder if that's just going to be a devoid hole that you can't click, or if it's just going to default to, Classic.
Honestly, I kind of think the former, truthfully. I think that
it's going to just be a gaping hole?
Yeah, kind of like whenever it's like Heroic Brawlocene is about to start, and how it's like, return back in X amount of time. That's kind of what I anticipate rather than Classic being enabled. I wish that Classic would be enabled, so like there's always something, but I think that the way that they're planning to do the latter, LADDER, not like the later of the two. I think that they kind of want to keep it pure in that sense.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious. I saw that. I was just like, I wonder.
It is possible, and since it is a rotating rule set and card pool, etc., it's possible that at some point we get Classic back. I mean, whenever Classic was initially introduced, it had a lot of people playing. Like it had a huge player base, and then of course that like pretty swiftly dropped off. But if we were just looking at like 1 to 3 months, I mean, I think that it probably would see popularity for that duration, especially if you knew that it was going away before too long, rather than just like, it's here, this is what it is forever, like Classic ended up being.
Well, you know, Sheep, I'll have you know that I think Classic was more popular than Standard and Wild, based on raw legend numbers. And so I don't understand why Blizzard would do this. I really don't. That was a very funny Discord comment I found someplace, was just like somebody completely clueless as to how much botting was going on in Classic. I think it got embarrassing at a certain point. So like this makes a lot of sense that this would happen now, to just kind of like just get rid of that. Kind of in a similar way that they got rid of Clergy, right? And banned it from Wild. It's just like, okay, we will not be embarrassed by another APM, animation cheating deck. Let's just wipe it from the menu. This kind of feels like that too. So, but anyway, without deep diving, there's still more twist timing.
Twist timing with patch 26.6, which we now know is in the next week or so. Twist will be launching in its beta. You'll start your twist climb from the beginning at Bronze 10, because that's how ladders work. And that first season will be a short season, lasting until July 1. You'll also be able to earn ranked rewards from the Twist ladder, like Standard or Wild. June's ranked rewards will be based on your highest ladder rank across Standard, Wild, Classic, or Twist. Once the Twist beta kicks off, the official leaderboards will switch from Classic to Twist. The Twist beta is planned for June and July. After the beta, Twist will be temporarily deactivated for a short time while we prepare for the official Twist launch, coming soon, TM. So what are the rules going to be for this beta? The beta format is called New Age. So while you're playing New Age, you have to be listening to New Age music, whether it's like Enya or Yanni, like that's the only rule. Oh, no, sorry, I read that wrong. Due to the short June season, there will be one format for both June and July beta seasons of Twist. That format is called New Age, a new evergreen format that includes the core set plus all sets from Ashes of Outland forward. That means during this beta, it will consist of Core Demon Hunter Initiate Ashes of Outland, Skullromance Academy, Metaset, The Dark Moon Fair, Forged in the Barrens, United in Stormwind, Fractured in Alterac Valley, Voyage to the Sunken City, if you know then you know, Murder at Castle Nathria, March of the Lich King, Path of Arthas, and Festival of Legends. As new sets are added to the game, they will be added to the New Age pool, which might be brought back from time to time. For these beta seasons, June and July, there will also be special a special rules variant to the New Age format. No neutrals allowed. That will let you re-experience the New Age, but through new eyes. When we bring back New Age back in the future, it might come back with the same rules variant, a different one, or no rules at all.
Did we ever do like a no neutrals allowed stipulation? I feel like we must have, but at the same time, I don't remember doing it.
I don't remember doing it either. I feel like we discussed it at least once, but I don't think we ever actually implemented it.
Yeah, I don't think we did. So like, this is definitely something that we'll steal from the listener series.
Yeah. And we can just call it New Age, right? Like Ashes of Outland forward and no neutrals. Easy peasy.
Yeah. Is this a good time, you think, to discuss, you think, thoughts on what Twist is going to be like?
I do. So Mr. Daddy, Schmoopie, what do you think Twist is going to be like, my friend?
I think it's very similar. It's going to definitely be like there's echoings of the listener series, obviously, right? And I know like a lot of initial reactions I heard to this being announced were like, oh, this is going to be like a deck builder's paradise. Like there's going to be unicorn decks aplenty. There's going to be some stones unturned. The seasons are too small and too short. There's no way there's going to be enough time to like fully refine or fully optimize the best decks, and so like there's going to be a lot of room for jank. It's just like I heard a lot of hope and a lot of like people like getting psyched. Like, yeah, this is going to be my reason to play Hearthstone. This is going to be neat. I think there's a critical difference between this and the listener series. The listener series, we're all kind of working in silos, except when we're not. Like the best players do a lot of practice matches. They play against a lot of other players. You kind of quickly figure out which decks are the best decks. And then you have an idea of, since it's the conquest format, you go into that competition and you ban the best deck typically, right? Like, because you know what you don't want to play against.
Right.
Not that anybody really targets anything, right? Like you can sort of do that, but it's kind of hard to do because like you don't know your target isn't all that your target deck can't be all that refined because again you're sort of doing this in a silo with yourself and then whoever you happen to find time to practice with. The difference here is I've been watching sweaties on different like Wild Hearthstone servers just licking their lips and rubbing their hands together and playing friendlies against one another, and then we had the reveal stream yesterday, and Sheep, I know you were in Meowth stream. Did you catch anybody else?
Yeah, I watched most of the Housewives as well.
Okay.
She played like a Mozaki Mage, a few other things, but Mozaki Mage was like my favorite of hers to watch.
I did Meowth and Corb, so that was like my two perspectives.
Yeah, so the housewife also plays Wild as well as Standard and Battlegrounds, and I mean it's definitely Wild adjacent. That's kind of why whenever I rewrote the intro, I said Wild and Wild adjacent because this is very much that.
Yeah, I thought that like the Wild streamers, whenever I was watching them, they seemed to be much more in their element and comfort zone than the Standard streamers that they were playing against. Like I was watching Meowth like absolutely scam Regis with an Evolve Shaman like over and over and over again. I felt a little bad.
Looked like so much fun.
Like apparently it's still good. Like that's a unicorn right there. Because like by and large, like you had, everybody was kind of playing the good stuff, and I think there's one very good deck in the format right now. Which before we even have the format, we know like Questline Druid looks busted. I know, who could have foreseen this? It only lost like 5 cards. Who could have foreseen this? And so that looks busted. Questline Demon Hunter looks good, but not as busted without Tony.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some like pretty decent fun decks that sort of trickle down after that. And the thing is like, the people who are going to go real sweaty are going to know this going in like right off the bat. And I think Corb even had a moment where he was just like sort of looking at it and he's like, I hate when there is a situation I'm looking at where there's a why are you playing any other class other than this one class? And like Druid is that good. That being said, they're apparently going to be balancing this format more frequently than Wild, less frequently than Standard.
Yeah.
That is a huge chasm upon which to fall into. But like with a little bit of curation, that could be cool. No, it's Tony Druid, no Il'gynoth. It's just Tony Druid, just no Tony. So literally, you can play like the quest line, like really good wild deck right now. Take out Tony and like insert like Wayward Sage, or like insert some people were trying Maltraxus. Insert
Helvetica,
which was like the Helvetica. Yes, just that's 100% her name. Definitely not what I call her, furry. Yeah, no, but I call her like furry rockstar mommy or something like that. So there's a couple like Lion's Fury. People are just sort of inserting one card because literally it's the same deck, but is losing one card. So like there are some decks that are very clearly better, and again, it's a little bit disappointing. I feel like because I feel like every format's going to be like this, where that's the difference between a ladder and a conquest format, right? Like if you don't want to play against something in conquest, you ban it.
Yeah,
and then it's kind of like all bets are off. Things are like so much wider open, as opposed to it's a ladder format. Like you're gonna get what you get. Don't get upset. And oh, by the way, everybody is starting with the same star bonus. So if you want to hit legend in this really short season, like I hope you like queue times. Like it's gonna be brutal.
Let's pwn some noobs.
Yeah. Oh my god. Well, I mean, you know what? I can't wait for the Questline Druid versus Questline Druid mirrors that like people are going to play, getting up to like trying to hit legend. I don't know how far people are gonna get. But just like bonk, bonk, bonk.
Well, and if it's like Classic was at the outset too, like I got to like maybe silver in the first season of Classic, but then I had the star multiplier for like Plat 10 because that was how my win rate shook out. And I played against like some really good people with like Golden Celebration card backs and stuff like that. So I imagine that's how, especially after, the first season being like what anticipated like 3-4 days, that I imagine that's what we'll see. We'll see the star multiplier based on like win rate and win rate against quality opponents, etc. like that.
100%. But I think queue times might be like a long-term problem with the format, especially early on. Just because if they are, if it's the same ladder system, if you're still siloed into basically you're playing against whoever is at your multiplier, unless you wait a long time, and then it's like, all right, fine, just give them anybody. And I say give them anybody, but like they go like, who's available in the next run down. It's going to be a hard format to grind and hit legend with. I think it's going to take a concerted effort and like a lot of no lifing, which. If the best deck is Questline Druid, I don't know how exciting that is. And it's not going to always be that way, right? This format's going to rotate and change. And some months it's going to be dope, and it's going to be like one of the best formats available. It's just I really want people to sort of temper their expectations so that they aren't disappointed and give up on this sooner than it needs to be.
And I imagine, and this is just my speculation, I'm not basing this off of anything. I imagine that they like built in some squishiness into the like queuing, so that we don't have horrendous queue times like high legend ladder and wild, or like early classic, high diamond, etc. I imagine that they built some squishiness into that because of those other experiences, but we could also be wrong. I could also be wrong.
Would you be shocked if they didn't?
I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked if they did, but I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't.
Meowth went like 9-1 with Evolve Shaman and found himself in, I think it was like Silver 5. And at Silver 5, he started getting 5-minute queue times and only started seeing like the same two people over and over and over and over again.
Yeah,
And so
that was in a super small player pool, though.
maybe that was it was just the streamers, and it was at a time like that was around, maybe we're talking like 9 p.m. Eastern. So maybe we're talking about a time zone too where people were trying to sort of transitioning, switching off that and doing other content.
Right.
So not everybody did it straight to midnight or however long they had the window for. So maybe that was happening, but.
And it could be a factor of both, right? Like both, some folks were kind of switching off, and so they were being like match made into people closer to their rank, and Meowth had to wait longer because the population of like 16, 30, like a super small population, was being match made against each other because they knew that the rank was closer, right? It's hard to tell in theory crafting. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, Dane went on forever. Core played Dane like 8 times in a row, so it was pretty funny. All right, Sinverno actually asked a great question in chat. Mm-hmm. Do you think Twist will be a bridge format that the main populace that will help make the main populace realize how much more fun Eternal formats are? I don't know. And Sheep, you want to answer this one first, and then I can do my dirtles.
I think maybe eventually, and I say maybe and eventually, both to hedge my bets, but also the eventually part, right? Like it'll take a while before like the standard folk are building up enough of a card pool to where they're like wanting to dip a toe into Wild. So whenever they actually dip their toe in, whether or not they enjoy it, depending on how far down the road that is, whether that particular meta is one that resonates with them, etc. Like maybe eventually, it's gonna all be about building up the card pool for people who don't already have it. And then incentivizing them to try it, right? Like, so if they build up their card pool, they build it up after like 6 months or so of Twist, and then they encounter a challenge or a meta that they don't like, and then they're like, well, I've got these cards, I'll try Wild. And then what does the Wild meta look like at that point?
You're right.
It might be great, it might not. I mean, it might not be great, but they might be queuing against things that they enjoy, like it, depending on what their background MMR is. Like it's really, really hard to tell, truthfully. But I think maybe and eventually. What do you think, Schmoopie?
Yeah, I Doc Delight brought this up in a conversation I was watching where he doesn't think it's going to have a lot of pull because you're talking about like really short seasons, which is like it's a positive and it's a negative. Where like these themes don't last forever, but they also don't last forever. Let's say you fall in love with a deck in one particular theme. It's not like you're going to be able to play that deck whenever you want in the conditions that you want forever and ever. Like in theory, you can in Wild, right? Like I'll roll my eyes. It's like every new set changes the meta slightly, but like there's a little bit more stability in Wild than there's going to be in Twist for however good or bad that is. That's just a reality. So the odds are that you're going to fall in love with the deck and then that experience and then just keep rolling with it. That might be frustrating where it's like if you really do enjoy one particular set, now it's rotating, now you're like, well, I mean, that's sucks, that's gone.
To kind of yes and that one set and one rule set, right? Like this first one has the additional deck really format limitation of no neutrals. And that's not just no neutrals in the deck selection and the deck creation. That's no neutrals in the discover pools. That's no neutrals in the evolve pools.
Yeah,
like that's no neutrals in the format, right?
It's wild. Like you're playing like
no, it's Twist.
Is it like charged calling? Is the sheep? Is charged calling the shaman card where you summon a drop based off of the number of overload cards that you've played starting at 1? It's like n+1, and then so you play an overload card. Now it pulls up a 2-drop. But like you can literally like you're guaranteed to discover Glug if you have that charged up to a 7-drop. So you do like a 3-mana glug whenever you get to that many overload cards in your turn, and you can play that out, and you can guarantee that a glug's going to drop at a certain turn.
Right.
Like, that's bonkers. There's other really weird bonkers stuff that you can do in this format. There's only one dragon that you can discover with Drakefire Amulet, and that's the overweight Flame Waker. That's what's her called?
I don't know, because I was thrown off.
Something I just kicked. Well, yeah, whatever name there was for her, that's it. It's kicked out. Matron something, right? And so it's a 8 mana for 12.
Mm-hmm.
8 mana for 12, and then you play a spell, and she goes pew pew pew, and it's instead of 2 pew pews, it's 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm remembering. It's been a while since I played
maybe 3
Restore Druid, so I don't quite remember. I want to say it's 4, but it's probably 3. But so you can like discover 2 of those off of Drakefire Amulet, and then play a deck, that discovers and generates a bunch of really cheap spells, and you just like go pew, 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 all over the place.
Or you can just straight up play no minion mage, but with Drakefire Amulet, and
exactly,
like Incanter's Flow, so that it's cheaper, and then all the other things that you're playing are cheaper, and then you can just like pew 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 all over everything.
I think there's really like there's going to be some really cool, goofy things you can do in the format. The thing is, like, I don't know how powerful they're going to be, and again, they're so fleeting, and does a standard player really want to dip their toe in something like this? Like, is this really appealing to a standard player? It's just almost more like appealing to wild player sensibilities, and we are a very small, disturbed minority of the player base. So it's better than Classic, I think. Like, at least I'm going to have more fun with this than Classic.
I think the Classic...
Long term, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think it depends, right? Like, I think that Classic being one of the possibilities for, one of the restrictions is, you can play Classic sometimes, but also I think that like the changing meta of all of this, like, means that, this one may be one of those like, oh yeah, more fun than Classic. Some of them might be just like super appealing to a super broad player base. It might be just like standard, but no neutrals, or standard, but only even cards. It's like, who knows what the additional rule is, right? So it might have that more broad appeal. People like you and I have deep wild collections. So like, this is going to appeal to us in a different way than it's going to appeal to like standard mains.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to be a little bit like, it might be a little bit deviling for some standard players, because I would think a lot of them dust their cards on rotation to keep up with the standard grind, which again is its own little hustle. But they'll dust a bunch of stuff, and then
and SchmoopieDaddy is giving a preview to what the song at the end of this episode is going to be.
They'll dust a bunch of stuff, and then they'll be like, all right, well. I guess I'm not set up for Twist anymore. I will say this too. Twist is requires a little bit more buy-in than something like Duels.
Yeah.
Like Duels, you really only need one copy of a card. Like whatever it is. It could be a legendary, it could be a neutral, epic, common, whatever. You only need to craft one copy for Duels. And Duels, I think, is probably going to be, especially when you talk about like each individual run, that's more profitable per your time played than, say, probably another ladder format, right? Like, because if you're playing Twist and you're doing it like hardcore, it's probably not your main format. It might be, but like you're probably have hit Legend in Wild, or gotten to where you get in Wild, and then get to where you get in Standard, and now you're going to try and get to where you get in Twist, and then it's like am I getting any additional rewards from this? And like, I think that's a decent discussion to have. It's just like, should you be rewarded for hitting Legend in 2 different formats, like slightly differently?
I mean, I've always thought that you should, but
right? Give us more free stuff, Blizzard.
Please.
Smash.
But I mean, I think that the real reward is like playing the different fun thing, right? Like I routinely hit Legend and Standard and Wild, and have a couple times in Classic, and I play Battlegrounds. Like the reward is not necessarily the like external thing, right? Like I'm
experienced.
Exactly. Like I play Standard because I want to play Standard. I play Wild because I want to play Wild. I mean, playing the game, I mean, it to Matt at Arms is in chat right now to quote Squelch, Hearthstone is a game and games are supposed to be fun. Yeah. I play the game to have fun. That's why I play it. Like the rewards are nice and give like a carrot at the stick to chase it. But like, if all I was chasing was the reward, then I would only worry about hitting Legend in one. Whereas like I like hitting Legend in both because I like playing the games, and I keep playing after I hit Legend, and I keep playing most of the time in both formats. So it's very much like playing the game is why I'm playing the game, because I want to.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you keep that, Sheep, and you keep that enthusiasm, and like maybe Twist is going to be fun like that. And this happens to me too when new cards come out, right? And I've said this before in the podcast. Every time like new sets incoming, new cards come out, I'm always just like, what fresh hell awaits me? Like what new unhappiness am I going to be dealing with? And then I'm always pleasantly surprised, and I find my fun someplace, right? And so that's why my eyes were like wide as saucers when I saw, you know, Meowth's Evolved Shaman yesterday. I'm just like, oh yeah,
that looks like so much fun.
This has Schmoopie deck written all over it. Yes, sir. This has just like scam after scam after scam after scam. And so like I could see myself having some fun in the format and playing that. Am I gonna grind it up to Legend? Like I'll want to, but I won't get there. But it'll be providing like ladder type experience as we go. I don't know. I think I've said my piece on this. It's like I'd go with it with a little bit of trepidation. It's okay to be excited about it, but there's a good chance that there's going to be. They really need to nail the first couple metas.
Yeah.
Because if the first couple metas suck, or aren't catered properly, like if they just let like Quest Drawing Druid just smack everybody to oblivion in this first meta, like there's a very good chance this is a failed game mode before it even gets out of beta. Like they've gotta find a way to, which maybe who knows, it might come out on, they think we don't really know when it comes out, right? It's like Tuesday or Thursday.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if it's not Tuesday.
Right, because if it's Thursday, as I saw one player say, I think it was Lasagna, it's like we'll have like a 9-minute season. So like it almost has to come out Tuesday. If Tuesday it comes out and they just sort of let it play out, and then they shut it down July 1st, and they bring it back some point in July for like the grand opening, because it looks like they're going to do that, right? It looks like
no. So the thing that we read was that the beta season is 2 seasons, right? So like June, super short. The ladder's going to reset, but like it's the same challenge. It's the same, like there's not going to be a downtime before July. There's not going to be a rules change. There's not going to be a format change. It's
but it looks like it comes back in July, and it's going to be the same thing.
Right. And it's going to be just like Wild and Standards ladder resets are, right? Like the ladder's going to reset, and then we'll continue playing in July.
My guess is they would ban like the Druid quest line if they want to kill Druid, or they would like ban some card in Druid to stop it from being as S tier as it currently looks like it is right now. That would be like a smart move probably to do. Maybe look at Demon Hunter and banning something in Demon Hunter that also hits the questline deck.
Sathena?
Like I don't know how much they're going to do, like how much curation they're going to do.
I imagine they'll do a fair amount, especially with how short they are. Bans, I would imagine, and I don't know.
Never
for sure.
nerfs. Never nerfs. I imagine, because like they ban stuff in duels all the time before they nerf it.
And I imagine that bans are going to be pretty easy to implement. It's just like you just can't play it there, right?
And you can't play it, done, yeah.
So I imagine that'll be kind of the way that they approach it, at the very least, for those kind of short-term seasons. What do you think about New Age as a challenge, as a very first kind of meta, whether or not the Druid questline gets banned?
I think the fact that it's tough for me to divorce New Age from the secondary challenge of no neutrals, because no neutrals is hamstringing aggro to such an extent. I feel like I'm getting a third of the picture of what a New Age meta would look like. I think New Age is like, it feels very MTG, right? Like they stole this from Magic the Gathering, who stole it from somebody else, who stole it from somebody else. There's some sort of meme somewhere out there about like that. Is that Rat King or something? I don't know. Princess Bride. So one of those kind of movies where it's just like, and he stole it from who so and so, and he stole it from so and so. Like this is echoes of. This is almost feels like a little bit like Commander, right? This is sort of Commander-esque, where Hearthstone is now implementing something that we've been doing as a grassroots community, where we've been making our own game mode with custom rules and then saying you have to play by these rules, and then playing it in a conquest format, whereas they're making this a ladder experience.
Right.
So and they're making it official, which is neat. So I feel like I like the idea of New Age. It's especially decent for maybe they're gambling that newer players are more likely to have New Age cards. Mm-hmm. And so, like, you don't have to go all the way back to Gadget Stand and have, like, crafted patches and crap, which I know from playing you guys in Gold... Which I know from playing you guys in Gold 5, you Pirate Warriors in Gold 5, you haven't crafted patches yet. What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on, guys. It's 1600 Dust. It's the best card in Hearthstone. Get over it. So I think no neutrals is really hamstringing aggro in this particular meta. So I don't get a full picture of how fun New Age is. That being said,
and my question regarding New Age is with the implicit assumption that it's the no neutrals. It's the first iteration of New Age that we're seeing in the beta.
Oh, like how I like this particular format?
Right. Yeah. That's the question.
I can't really, and you said, well, ignoring the questline druid. I can't ignore the questline druid because I think it's a really obnoxious deck to be good. And at the same time, as far as good decks go, it's one of the better decks to have as the best deck because you can kind of scam it with healing and taunt.
But by ignoring it, I don't mean like disregard it. I mean like I don't mean ignoring it. That was probably a poor choice of words. I mean like with that aside, like yes, there's always going to be a best deck.
Yes.
Like, let's be real.
Paper,
that's going to happen.
On paper.
Questline Druid is probably an okay one to have.
Yeah. On paper, it's a good starter, right? Because it's like, okay, newer players more likely to have the cards, no neutrals. If you think about it, Standard has been plagued for over a year now by these high-powered neutral, like, legendary packages that have just sort of bedeviled the devs. Like, you know, they make something cool, like Sire Denathrius, and then they have to nerf it because of interactions with, like, Bran, or like Theo, or Renathal, or just, like, they keep producing these sort of high-powered neutral cards, and they kind of just throw a spanner into the works. So having a game mode where those are not present, and it's like, okay, so go do what your class can do based on whatever's there is very interesting.
Counterpoint, those were pretty ubiquitous in the past year. However, this standard meta, and I say standard meta, really, for sure from the mini set on, but also before the mini set, Pure Paladin was one of the strongest decks before the mini set and hands down the strongest deck after the mini set was released. There were 3 balance changes, nerfs to Pure Paladin. We're going to have to play pure versions of every single deck we play. The deck did have to get wrecked for sure.
Yeah. And what's really funny is I watched Corb build and play a Pure Paladin yesterday, Apparently, Pure Paladin was the deck that Reddit was complaining. It's just like, this is going to be the OP deck. It's not going to be fun to play against. It's not going to be fun to play. It's just Curvestone. Frick this deck. And
check off Schmoopie does the Reddit voice on your
I don't even know what it was.
Card.
I'm going to have to look back and figure out
what it was. It's a different Reddit voice from what it was before.
and so I watched Cord play one game of it. He did win. And he's just like, that felt awful. This deck is awful. I never want to play it again. And it was an insta delete. It was a 1-0 insta delete. So we do have to watch these metas play out, right? But we got to see that a little bit yesterday. And I mean, I think it's a fine starter meta. The problem is like, I think ideally you'd want to start a meta that didn't have such a polarized S tier deck at the top of it. And they had no way of knowing it would be that way. Honestly, balance is the hardest thing to do in a card game, I think. So like, I don't even blame them for this. Like you don't know. This seems like on paper, this is a great starting rule set. No neutrals is great because like, okay, you know, no high powered neutrals, kind of like, oh, well, this particular neutral minion combo is going to just sort of walk all over the format. Whoever Theo's your sire, blah, 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 blah. Right? Okay, so that's not happening. And it's like newer cards. People will probably have the newer cards. Like, okay, great. I love it. It's just I don't know if I'm a fan of it. We'll find out. I'll get to playing it, and if I win a bunch, I'll be happy. And if I don't like it, I'll just go back to, you know, smashing my face into the wall that is Wild, and just do that instead.
So I'm not sure what it was that you said that made me think of this, but I didn't see any in Rage Warrior yesterday, and
that's because in Rage Warrior, and this might come as a shock to you, Sheep. And Rage Warrior is a bad deck.
This does come as a shock to me because I've hit Legend in the past year with Enrage Warrior in both standard and wild formats.
Maybe it is good. You know what?
Multiple times in both.
I saw some people that were just like, maybe it's good. Maybe it's good with Risky Skipper. And like, how many neutral cards does it use?
Not many.
You guys like in standard. You guys like the egg, right?
Yeah, standard likes the eggs.
Standard likes the egg, the chicken egg. It runs Foul Egg. Yes, okay. Azalea Kari is live streaming us. It runs Treasure Guard. Treasure Guard's trash. You'd never play it anyway. In this version of it. Oh dear God, what are you guys doing in standard? The stuff that you guys have to do in standard sometime to like stitch a deck together is just horrifying.
That
absolutely
might
horrifying.
Be the only two.
Is that it?
I'll pull up the
Foul
Vicious
Egg and
Syndicate
Treasure Guard?
list, but the Vicious Syndicate list, but I think that might be it.
People might just be like, well, this is a wild adjacent format and we can't use Risky Skipper. What's the point of anything? Like throwing up the papers and walking out of the room. I don't know. I didn't see anybody try it, so maybe you should try it, Cheap.
I think I'm going to because those are, I think, the only two. Yeah, those are the only two in the Vicious Syndicates list. I mean, how would I know? I've not played this standard deck in Wild.
The reason why I asked that is because like, what does it do? Like, what turn is it popping off? What does it do? We can kind of game this out, right?
Yeah.
Like, so like Questline Druid is wanting to go face. That's good to activate Light of the Phoenix, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, you're actually happy with that as the warrior. That I can't tell you the number of times as a war song warrior where I'm hitting end turn without hitting my hero button, and I have to remember to emote oops so that it looks like I'm like, oh, silly me, dummy playing warrior, forgo to hit hero power button, when really I just want like an activator for Battle Rage if I have Battle Rage in my hand. So, what's your pattern of play typically?
So pattern of play is typically play fire spells with Sun Fury Champion to damage my and my opponent's minions, and then of course play the imbued axe to buff the stuff. Of course, we also play Decimator Olgra to just like, hey, my stuff is damaged, your stuff is damaged. Decimator Olgra, huge buff. of course, we've also got Anima Extractor. To buff
No, anime is correct.
Anime Extractor. We are
Okay.
we are watching My Hero Academia in our hand.
So you play Anime Extractor on 2 and a questline druid
Oh,
smacks it with the harmonic spell and it dies.
yeah.
So you get 1 buff. Um,
And
I'm like
that's
trying to
okay.
game out how that, and that's okay. You're okay with 1 buff. Okay. Or maybe you're, what's like the skipper-esque. Do you guys do jam session? Do you guys play jam session in that
Yep.
deck?
Yeah, we play Jam Session. We play,
Okay.
of course, Sanguine Depths. The location, Sun Fury
Okay.
Champion, the 1 mana 1/3 after you cast a
You
fire
probably want to
spell,
do like you
deal
probably
1
want to do
damage.
like
Go.
Sanguine Depths, turn 2's hero power, turn 3's like equipped axe, turn
Turn
4 you start doing anima stuff. I feel like
turn
and try to get value off of
2, maybe Ember of Strength, depending.
it. Okay.
Which is the 2 mana summon 2/1/2 guards with taunt, but also has mana thirst 6. Give them
You guys play
1
bouncer
2.
in that deck?
No, not currently, but also there are not a whole lot of bouncers in standard, whereas there might be
Right.
in Twist New Age.
Yeah, because like that's something you could buff in your hand and like
Yeah.
now I got 2 frogs. Ha ha ha. That might be something that like is attractive in this format.
So
Like again,
our top end,
yeah.
like there are a couple of four drops, but the 5 drops are double Bridge Riff. 6 drop is 1 copy of Decimator Olgra. 7 drop, 1 copy of Remornia Living Blade. So if we buff Remornia in our hand, Remornia, boop, drop on board, attack something on board, go face for hopefully more than the 5 attack that she comes with.
Right.
If we're buffing her in hand with Anime Extractor, watching Dragon Ball Z, then we go face for like 9 or 10. I've done that on the regular.
And there's no weapon hate in the format whatsoever. So like
Correct.
you can even like kind of like set it up where it's like pop, rush, have it sit in hand, and you're kind of happy to have her equipped, and it's not going to be a big deal. Like you're just going to be able to smack forever, which is why I think something like Poison Rogue actually looks really, really good. Well, I'm not going to say really, really good, but like you can lethal people by turn 5, based on what I saw yesterday in this twist format. So I hope you guys love peekaboo decks because it has like cloak and evasion and like a ton of draw and like the smackies. It does that. So like I get, but there's no weapon. Like what came from that was like there's no weapon hate.
Right.
So because all that weapon hate is usually neutrals. So that's
what I
useful.
like about the Enrage Warrior is we play a decent amount of early game, as well as having like the buff synergies to buff our hand, which also goes face with our finishers like Decimator Olgra or Remordia Living Blade. I think this might be something that kind of transitions, like bridges the gap between standard and wild, like in a really cool way.
Yeah, it might be worth. And like, does it gain any cards from the like the new age format? Like, is there anything like from like Ashes or whatever that you'd look at that you'd be like, oh, I'd really want this in there?
I'm trying to recall specifically because Blue Train made a really cool, I called it Blue Aggro Noob, a really cool Enrage Warrior that was standard specific, that was wild specific, that I played to Legend once or twice in Wild. That was wild specific. And of course it played like Risky Skipper, which we won't have access to because it's both too old and neutral. But there are other options, like Blood Boil Brute.
I was gonna say Blood Boil Brute's there, but you can't tutor it, so you either have it or you don't. Unlucky.
Thank you, Claw in chat.
Battle Rage in core or no?
I don't think so because I feel like we would be using it, and
you'd be using it. Yeah,
that's
okay. It's kind of high maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Because that's kind of, well, you have applause. Can you make
So Roaring Applause is one. Chorus Riff is another for draw. Chorus Riff, of course, draw
Chorus
one,
Riff, okay.
gain +3/+3. And then, of
there might be
course,
a deck there.
you really want to have that be your last riff so that whenever you play Bridge Riff or Verse Riff Finale, you are gaining an additional draw with the buff.
Okay, you're selling me on this. You're selling me on this. This
Ooh,
doesn't
Cutting
suck nearly
Class.
as much as I thought.
Cutting Class is a really interesting idea because, of course, we run Remornia the Living Blade, so it's free. But also we do play the...
But it's not free until you play Remornia, though. Ew.
It's not free until you play Remornia, but you really want to have stick around, and there's no weapon hate, the Imbued Axe. So it's, instead of being a, 5 mana, it's a 3 mana? That's kind of standard.
Just thinking outside the box here a little bit, but it has some anti-synergy because you're already doing stuff with weapons. Is Sword Eater legal in this format?
It would be, yeah.
So like,
right? Because that's not a neutral card.
So like, if you make a nice buff, taunty Sword Eater, right? And then Sword Eater's in core. Holy cow, what are they doing? All right.
Yeah, because we play that in Menagerie Warrior. That's a good point.
Maybe you're kind of going out of your way to play with Cutting Class, right? Like, because I think Sword Eater makes Cutting Class a lot more palpable, but at the same time, it's like you're only playing Sword Eater for the taunt, kind of, and also you're not always going to want to play it because you'll have Imbued Axe up, and maybe it's not worth, but I don't know, just cooking a little bit. I think there's something there that's interesting.
There's potential. There's for sure potential.
I know. Hobbs was playing a taunt warrior yesterday and went 10 rounds with Meowth and only lost at the very end because Meowth's a dirty scammer and had Hobbs had a minor misstep where he played out an extra minion so that Meowth could hysteria it, and then he was out of stuff. And I was like, oh. But he went 10 rounds with Meowth with a taunt warrior, and taunt warrior looked pretty okay. It's just endless threats.
Well, and Rush Warrior was really strong, not that long ago in Standard. So I'm sure that it's still valid. I'm sure that it's still legal, and we have additional options now. Was
the Rush Warrior? Did that use the neutral guy from Dark Moon Fair, the baton, the parade leader? That guy?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it probably could have, but it didn't.
It didn't. Okay. And it did use Ram Commander, right? It leaned on Ram Commander a bit. Or was that just a wild version I'm thinking of?
Remind me of Ram Commander. I'm drawing a blank on the name.
Print 2 1/1 Rushy Rammy Boys.
Yeah.
It's from Stormwind.
Yeah, it played that one.
Okay, so that's I remember that card being better in there. Oh, okay, Baron's Rush Warrior did. Okay, I am remembering my decks a little bit.
And that is the one I'm thinking of. But we have additional options both since then and before then that we can kind of amalgamate, not to steal from Menagerie Warrior.
I saw a lot of people do Keck Warrior, and maybe that was a little premature.
Yeah,
that was a little premature.
I think there are options, and we're just talking about this before it's even launched. What's going to happen whenever more people than just the 30 or so people who had the opportunity and the theory crafting, who's to say what the meta is going to end up shaking out like? Obviously, the tier 1 decks I feel are pretty evident, Questland Druid,
and we see that in the listener series. You very obviously identify your solid decks that you're bringing in a week pretty quickly. And then usually the tricky part is just okay, what's deck 3 and what's deck 4?
Exactly. And
you're trying to find a unicorn there or something that you enjoy playing to kind of fill in that gap. So I don't know.
I think it'll be fun to iterate upon. I think it'll be fun to play I mean, let's be real. I really like playing the tier 2, low tier 2, high tier 3 decks in general. Aggro Druid is my jam.
Yeah, that's your wheelhouse. Yeah. Your aggro druid was in fact in my deck rotation sheep. I'm sorry it did not survive. It doesn't whisper to me the same way it whispers to you.
That is a-okay. We all have different play patterns that resonate with us. I'm sorry that yours is incorrect.
Yeah. Fair. Do we want to talk friends list now? We want to make friends?
We do want to make friends, and we can make friends with significantly more people, double in fact, that we could before. So, per both a tweet and in actuality, from the tweet itself from Celestalon. Celestalon, yeah, we talked about it a bit in some press interviews, such as here, and there's a link to the Game Rant article. There will be battle-ready decks available for Twist, including one that I got from the housewife that I already have all of the cards for. So maybe we see if anyone wants it after the stream here, including 7 for New Age. And you can purchase them with gold, not just real money. I am, in fact, not talking about the friends list, but a different thing, which is the battle-ready decks that are available for Twist in particular. You can also buy, per this exchange, golden battle-ready decks. Golden battle-ready decks are available.
Well, noises. Oh my god. There's going to be people who want to gold out their Twist decks every month.
I mean, I probably will be able to, just by the fact that I play a lot of golden, wild, and standard decks.
If Mage is any good, I probably will be able to too. Oh, it's so upsetting.
Yeah. So, yeah, there will be battle-ready decks available for purchase with gold and with monies. There will also be golden battle-ready decks. They did not specify whether those will be available for gold and monies or just monies. I imagine that it'll be kind of akin to the mini sets where you can buy them with both, but like the gold versions are significantly more expensive.
Probably, yeah. But that's cool. And you know what? I feel like the decks, just like the quality of the decks, I feel like they have been in the past. They've been pretty okay.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't do we have the deck recipes yet or no?
I feel like we probably do because streamers were giving away battle ready deck.
They're giving away the codes, but I don't think you could see the deck yet because I don't think they were set up yet. Like you couldn't claim them.
That makes sense.
But yeah, like in general, I feel like these decks have been like a decent quality, maybe not fully optimized, but like a good start, right?
Yeah. So. And oftentimes giving you about like 80-90% of like what ended up shaking out to be the meta deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think they use stats typically when they build these things. So I bet you they were paying attention during there was more than one reason for them to be doing the whole the whole thing yesterday. And part of it was, I think, sort of like debugging the bugs. Like, oh man, look, Death Knight. Sorry, not Death Knight. Knights of the Frozen Throne cards were legal for a brief period to discover.
To discover and evolve into, but not to put in your deck.
Not to put in your deck, which was a little bit funny because I watched Meowth UI Corb on turn 4 doing Jackpot Rogue, which was pretty funny. So like oopsie poopsie. So getting that out of the way, but maybe even like I don't know if the deck recipes are already set in stone, but maybe they tweak them a little bit based on what they saw yesterday too.
Per chat,
they do look at those stats when they make them.
Per chat, and if I mess up your name phonetically, I apologize. Clafoshly. Content creators were told the lists in advance, but the decks aren't redeemable yet. The only spoiled one that they know of is Quest Druid Precon.
Interesting.
So I have the Paladin one from the housewife because I won one of her giveaways. I'm one of her mods, longtime friend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Shout outs to the housewife.
Definitely no finger on the scale. Definitely no finger on the scale there. Or did she do a giveaway or was it?
She did a giveaway. It was through the like stream elements bot. There was legit no finger on the scale for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Exclamation part rigged in the chat. There we go. Perfect.
I know the housewife. She would not be able to do that.
I'm kidding. I'm just
Like, I mean, I guess she could if she like really tried, but like, let's be real, that would be more trouble than it's worth. She didn't know I was going to be there. I haven't been able to be in her streams for a while because I have a job and a baby.
Yeah, that happens.
Speaking of friends, we now can have more of them in
more friends.
Double the amount that we could before, SchmoopieDaddy. Exactly. So the Battle.net team surprised Mike Ybarra just now, and by now I mean on June 20th, 2023 at 7:18 p.m. Mountain Time. Friends cap is at that point and currently 400, up from the 200 max. Again, if you were counting, that is double. Mike Ybarra had a friend test it and it worked. Give it a try. Awesome. I have given it a try. I have 201 friends now.
That's awesome. No, like
so
I was at the point where like between THL and listener series and
generally being popular
and just like people being like, oh my God, I listen to the show, and like Chinese players adding me and then talking to me in Chinese because they assume I'm Chinese based on the decks I'm playing.
Cantonese or Mandarin?
I can't tell you. Because I'm not sure. I don't know that I should. My sister-in-law is Cantonese, so I should speaks Cantonese, so I should know.
You should,
but I don't. But I don't. I'm just gonna be an ugly American there and just bully right on through. So like I can get you're telling me I can get 200 rage ads now. That's awesome. I don't have to. I was at the point where I was cutting people that I know.
Daddy, you well can.
I was at the point where I like the pod has interviewed Cthulhu. She was really cool. She hung out the Discord, faded away from Hearthstone in general. Still playing other games. We caught up over DMs, but I was just like, hey, listen, I'm cutting you from my friends list because you haven't logged in for a long time, but I know where to find you. So if you ever become active again, I can bring you back in. Yeah, and somebody like Azalea Akari that plays all the THL. I just play the Wild series. Some people are spreading themselves out over Rebob. It plays I think in every series.
I played against Rebob in Legacy.
Yeah, and I've played him 3 times in Wild. Congrats to Rebob. He just reached 4. I think he's the first person to reach 400 games of THL, not sets, but 400 matches in total. So imagine how many people he has to constantly friend and unfriend, friend and unfriend, friend. I don't have to play that chicken game anymore. I can just keep adding randos forever and ever now. Until I reach 400, and then I'll say, who do I cut now? And hopefully some of the randos will be inactive, and that won't happen. No, this is awesome. We've been complaining for years about this, so this is a good quality of life change.
I personally have been complaining for about a decade about this very thing, and I'm very glad because I've had to cut multiple people for my 1, maybe 2 THL matches, series. Formats at a time. I've had to cut people out, and I feel really bad every time I do it. But
every time, but it's I know where that the same thing with me with THL people, because it's just okay, I know where to find your battle tag,
right?
So I don't need you on my friends list right now. So bye, and then and then you just sort of go from there. And you don't mean it personally, but it's really embarrassing when you're oh, we're matched up together. Yeah, we played last year. Yeah, what's your? Yeah, I gotta add you.
I just look at the directory.
My bad.
There's one person in particular that I will not play in THL, and I do not feel bad about deleting, but I will leave that to ambiguity.
Okay.
And or to anyone who asks me individually. I won't lie about that one. I won't keep that cagey, but I also won't display it, broadcast it.
Okay, Sheep After Dark episode, guys. You heard it here first. The recording's gonna stop. We're gonna keep drinking Diet Coke, and we're gonna learn Sheep's deepest, darkest secrets.
You say Diet Coke. I'm drinking Dr. Pepper. Strawberries and cream Dr. Pepper. I live in Colorado, but there's still a Texan inside me.
I didn't know there was a regional difference with Dr. Pepper.
It started in Texas and in Dublin, Texas, in fact. And is very much a Texas thing, but also is like available worldwide because Dr. Pepper is freaking amazing.
If you say so. I'm not a soda guy. I know. I'm sorry. I know. He flips the table. I will be ended. I will be ended. Is it time, Sheep? Do I get to do the music?
Give me the music a cappella, Mr. Daddy. And now, unsolicited advice with SchmoopieDaddy. SchmoopieDaddy, if you could come up with a restriction, both card pool and rule for Twist, what would it be?
I would say, honestly, and this feels like such a cop-out, there's a reason why I floated out Mega Highlander for the finals for this particular season, right?
I love it.
It's so much fun.
It is.
And it's I know, day one, you floated out there, and this might be worth it. You're going to have, some of the big standard streamers like Jay Alexander are going to be like, this is unfair. I don't have the card collection for this. Blah, 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 blah. And they're gonna be kind of pissed. But it's like guys, suck it up. It's one deck. But just one. Everybody is playing a Highlander deck. Everybody playing a Highlander deck. I guess it's a ladder experience. You don't have to come up with 4 decks. You just have to come up with one deck. But just giant greed piles, the deck could be fun. Renathal required could be fun, and you everybody gets a special copy of Renathal just for that, just as a format. And some people say, Diamond Renathal for everyone. That could be fun. I feel like for Mega Highlander though, you'd have to allow opponents to pick only one of the Highlander cards to slot in there. So one of the, if there are no duplicates in your deck, that'd be the only card you could add in there. So you couldn't just play Zeph, Reno, Kazakus. No. Pick one for your deck and play it. Because I think it'd be very interesting to see the more aggro decks might pick Zeph, the more slower decks might pick Reno, but you also might have some Highlander hunters that pick Bran, and I don't know. I just think it'd be I feel like
I would pick
that
Dragon
variance
Queen
is very Hearthstone and fun. Yeah, that's a good one. I just feel like those kind of decks, those seasons are those weeks are always fun, and ones I look forward to.
Wiser words have never been spoken, and you heard that on
Born to be Wild.
And now, as promised, we have an after the show / still on the recorded podcast recording / implementation presentation of Dirty Duster from Craig of Canada and our very own Nate Wolf.
Golden Ysera, no golden dreams without a golden death knight. They make gold hero powers admiring, all of that bling. But I'll never craft golden cards.
I will and do.
Collection building is hard for me, 'cause I'm just a dirty duster, baby. Yeah, I'm just a dirty duster, baby. Disenchant golden legendaries like you. Ooh. I'm not free to play. I pre-order the new set. I am not so rich. I need all the dust I can get grinding my quest. I'm doing my best, but I'll never craft golden cards. Collection building is hard for me, 'cause I'm just a dirty duster, baby. Yeah, I'm just a dirty duster, baby. Disenchant golden legendaries. Oh, ooh. Yeah, duster,
yeah.
disenchant my legendaries. Ooh, yeah. What cards in my collection's missing? Man, I don't have gold. So many cards that I'm missing. Lo and behold, I open a legendary. This must be fate. My lips start to shake. I open the gold in my ear. It's going into my deck, Nate said.
I just crafted a gold Malcanis,
Here's Nate.
baby. I'm
Hi,
planning my next gold
We love you, Nate. We miss you.
legendary. 'Cause I'm not a dirty duster, baby, like you. Ooh.
Yeah, Duster. Disenchant bad legendaries. Yeah, Duster. What cards is my
SchmoopieDaddy is
collection
actively
missing?
double face palming.
I'm a dirty duster, and I'm proud of it, Nate Wolf.
I'm not a dirty duster. Are you, SchmoopieDaddy?
No. I have heard, like, rule one of the internet is, like, what has been seen cannot be unseen. I think a follow-up to that is what has been heard cannot be unheard, and I cannot unhear that now. Thank you, Sheep, for that experience.
Wiser words have never been spoken. And you heard that on...
Born to be wild.